boy, today is a great day. Not because of my Sour Patch Kids, but also because Fortnite llamas are here. So if you're watching this upon release, it should be... Oh, no, it's not going to be Halloween because it's 4:30 in the morning. Anyway, it's going to be Halloween soon, which is like my favorite month of the year. And the Fortnite llamas have officially replaced the Wild West llamas. So if you missed out on those llamas, then it was basically the Bundle Bus and the Spyglass and the Old Betsy. They were great weapons. Link to those videos in the description below, along with all my other weapon guides if you wanted to check those out. Oh, I think the 6-shooter was in there as well. What's important here? We got brand new weapons that are in the game. So I can show you all 4 of them in the collection book right now, and that's in the event schematics. Boom, right here. We get the black metal set. You get an AR, which looks like a pistol. Don't at me. That's a pistol. I don't care what the devs were smoking when they made that. That's a pistol. The sniper is one of the most badass things I've ever seen. This thing looks like it was pulled straight out of Borderlands and then was like given this death metal kind of... Oh, I love it. I love it. The spear is... I don't know anything about the spear, but the 2 that I'll be making videos on the shotgun and the assault rifle. So if you're watching this video, this is going to be the assault rifle, and then in a few hours you should check back because the shotgun will be released on the exact same day. So we'll talk about this one next. Also looks amazing. This weapon looks... Oh, God, I honestly love this set. I'm not just, like, hyped about a new event. I'm the kind of guy, if you guys have watched my streams, that when I see a new event, I kind of rip it to shreds. Like, I like to be, you know, realistic and optimistic, but if a weapon's bad, I will call you out on it. But if it's good, like the Gamatron, I will max it out twice just for the 6 perk variation. So this is definitely one of those sets where I am going to be, well, quite literally maxing out twice for the 6 perk variation, because what's new with the black metal set is they are, it's weird. So they do extra damage and different bonuses based on the amount of health that you don't have. I was put off by this immediately. I thought to myself, okay, there's no way that's gonna work, but after using it today in stream, it's not that bad, because at least in this example, there is reloading, stunning, and knocking back enemies. Sometimes it activates every 3 kills. I don't think that's all of them, but that's at least 3 of them, where 3 kills, reload, and knocking back. I got all 3 different ones. I got the reload one on my assault rifle, which I quite like, and what it means is every time I reload this weapon, I lose 12.5% of my health. I use this with Blast from the Past. That was my immediate instinct, and it worked really well, so I didn't try anything else out from there. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any other suggestions, but I use this with Blast from the Past, and that's for a couple of reasons. So one thing that's important to note is this is a percent. So it's going to take 12.5%, or 1/8 of your health, no matter what you're doing. It's like you're poisoned in Pokemon. But with Blast from the Past, that means that you're going to have a lot more health left over. In fact, when I'm using this weapon a ton, and I'm using it in combat, and I'm not really healing anything, like with coconuts or whatever, I'm basically plateauing at about 300,000 health, and that was with a group of people, and, you know, if I wasn't using Blast in the Past, that would be closer to, like, 30,000 health. So it's kind of a big deal to have Blast in the Past to keep yourself healthy, and I would recommend using coconuts with this, and I do, because it's a fantastic safety net, but it's important to note that this 5th perk down here is huge, adding 80% bonus damage based on the percentage of your missing health, and if I'm not mistaken, just based off of using it in today's stream and a little bit of assumption, I'm assuming that 80% is based on how much health you're losing. So with 20% of your health remaining, I think you're getting the most out of that perk. It doesn't explain, so I can't actually look into that any further, but that is my best guess as to how that works, and that seemed to correlate in the main game, and that's why I mentioned having 300,000 base health, because that's where you start healing when you have 30% of your health. I was hovering around there a lot because that 80% bonus damage is just, it's a big deal. This gun is not that impressive stat-wise, but that's okay because every time I reload, on the next enemy hit, it does X amount of damage in a, 0.75 tile radius, which you don't really need to know beyond. It just does like an explosion amount of damage. Explosive amount of damage, area of effect. It does not impact propanes, I am happy to report, so it's not going to be setting those off. It's not a literal explosion, it's more of an outburst of damage. And that's a fantastic thing. When I'm using this with my reload, all I got to do is shoot, reload, shoot, reload, shoot, reload, and it's kind of like a low power grenade launcher in a weird sense. It's actually very, very good for crowd clearing. So you don't need to use it like that. Again, you will be using up a lot of your health to do so. And that brings me to another point. I was late to the party. It seemed like everybody in the stream had figured this out but me, but that 12.5% is relative to the amount of health that you currently have. I know this is obvious, but like, if you have 100 health, it'll bring you down to 87.5. If you got 87.5 health, it'll bring you down to 12.5% of that, and then 12.5% of that. So it goes down lower and lower and lower and lower. So it is actually quite difficult to kill yourself using this set, which is just amazing that I'm talking about a weapon set saying that right now. Like, obviously, if you could kill yourself, if you could do damage to yourself, then launchers would be quite dangerous, but I digress. I thought immediately when I saw this set that you were going to be constantly just killing yourself with the amount of damage you're doing, but no, that does not seem to be the case, so I'm just impressed. Alright, so now that I got all of that out of the way, let's finally get into the actual perks of this thing. Many of you have probably already clicked off because you saw them and then you left, and I wouldn't blame you if you did, but there is more to talk about, so if you stuck around, then you're in for a treat. First and foremost, this isn't that big of a deal, but I tried it out so I can share with my experience. I tried to use first shot Rio with this because I thought it would be nice, but this weapon actually fires in 2-round bursts, so that bonus really isn't that big of a deal, and that's the only other reason I could imagine you'd want to use double crit damage here. But let me explain exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing here. To those of you guys who have watched me typically know that I like mag size, but that's not even an option here. And even though there is fire rate and another crit damage and damage, there are a lot of good options for perks on this weapon, and there are a lot of different ways you could spec it. If you want to go raw damage per second, then double crit damage crit rating is probably the best way to go. If you want to smoothen it out a bit, fire rate is actually typically better than double crit damage. In this case, it would be slightly better to actually just go with fire rate. Slightly better or the same, it doesn't really matter. This is a fairly slow firing gun, so 7.2 per second is not that fast. I think that might even be slower than the Gravedigger. So double fire rate might be a good way to go for this, but I opted for reload speed, and that's because my 6th perk, as obviously reloading reduces my health and gives me that damage explosion. So I went for reload speed, but it's important to know that crit damage is nice, but now you're banking a lot on your crit chance, which you're not always going to hit your crits. So when a smash is charging at you, you better cross your fingers. So fire rate is typically what I prefer to recommend over double crit damage when doing a crit rating crit damage loadout. As for the other crit rating, I wouldn't suggest using either of these. That said, if you do have the perk where stunned and staggered gives you the bonus, you might want to consider an impact perk. If I'm not mistaken, that will help you out. If I'm wrong and that won't even trigger the stunned and staggered effect, then definitely go for crit rating crit damage. I think that's just the best way to go here. On most weapons, damage and fire rate is identical to crit rating crit damage, but having used this weapon, I can't really explain it. I just don't think that's the way to go. Especially because reloading this thing, you know, takes away your HP. You kind of want to get the most bang for your buck, and crit rating crit damage is definitely more damage per bullet on average. And for the 5th perk, I went for this just borderline reason is because with this new weapon set, this perk is perfectly tailored to the black metal weapon set, so I wasn't not going to use it. Having used it, that 80% bonus damage is huge. That is... I mean, it's just amazing. I wouldn't want to not use this. And that's pretty much it. I used it in game. This weapon is phenomenal. The only other element you can use is fire, which no doubt would look badass when the weapon is black metal like this. But when it comes to elements, you typically either want a series of weapons to cover all the different elements, meaning if you had a fire one of this, you'd want a water and a lightning kind of a thing. Or if you're going to have any option, it would be energy. Obviously, we don't have that option, so I'm thinking physical is probably the best bet here because I would rather do 50% damage to all enemies than none to water, normal to fire, and then like a little bit less than physical damage to physical enemies. I think physical is the best overall here, but fire is definitely another option. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are as excited about this set as I am. I definitely had my reservations and straight up doubts about this. I thought this set was going to be terrible. I thought at face value, I'm like, how could losing your health possibly be helpful? But honestly, these weapons are amazing, and I think the shotgun might be one of my favorite shotguns in the entire game. But that's a topic for another video. Hope to see you guys there. Have a nice day and take it easy.